Seeing that he has used up too much of his power, the dude quickly flees the scene. With the threat no longer in sight, Changsik's fatigue catches up to him. The hunter falls to the ground and passes out, leaving his subordinates in a state of disarray. Heron tells them to quickly get him to the hospital before it's too late. In the orphanage's basement, the children are holed up with the sister, while a violent battle takes place above. The nun does her best to assure the little kids that the director is fine. One of them tries to imitate Dong Chol, causing everyone else to laugh and their spirits to be lifted. Meanwhile, Dong Chol is still caught in a tight spot while trying his best to fend off the projectiles being shot at him. His patience wears thin as he can't find any gaps in his opponent's movements. The blonde-haired thug starts to shoot some projectiles into the air as he gets ready to end his fight with one of Korea's top hunters. Dong Chol braces himself for whatever new trick the guy is about to unleash. His opponent activates a blood rain ability and starts raining down spear-shaped blood arrows. In order to save himself, the director uses his thunderstorm ability to counter the attack. Regardless, the blood arrows strike through heavily without remorse. When the dust settles, we see the director is impaled with multiple projectiles, despite his efforts to counter them. He tries his best to hang on to his withering life, vowing not to die there. Sadly, his body gives up and falls to the ground. The thug's hand starts to tremble as the fight comes to an end. The power slowly dissipates, and he sees that he has used up all of the giant blood's authority. When he senses something off, he quickly takes his leave from there. Back in Seoyeon's house, she finds traces of the dead body in the pool of blood. From there, she accesses the memories of what happened, and finds out that her ugly doll was the one who saved her. Over in our hero's apartment, his mother is watching the news, which is reporting about the strange encounters that occurred in Han River Park and Dongchul's orphanage. This terrible news only succeeds in making her worried because her son hasn't been home for some days. She quickly turns to search for her phone on the couch. Jisoo then walks into the room and tells her that Chanho said not to worry about Daesung. The mother then inquires about when her children spoke and what her son has been up to recently. Jisoo's reply is quite rude because she implies that she doesn't care about what her brother has been up to. This causes her mother to give her a proper beating, leaving the young girl to scream for help. On the rooftop of a building, a dark, ominous figure can be seen there. The camera closes in and reveals the figure to be the serial killer. The guy is preparing to kill one of our hero's family members and take the other as a hostage. When all the lights in the apartment go off, the killer approaches one of the windows. Prepared to slaughter the innocent family, he uses his powers to try and break in. Sadly for him, he is pushed back while attempting to break in. While Daesung's mother is asleep, the pendant on her neck begins to glow, serving as the key to the barrier of the house. The killer becomes very anxious and frustrated when he sees that a protective barrier has been set up. Suddenly, a spear shoots out and impales him on the spot. The guy coughs a chunk of blood as all his senses highlight the agonizing pain inflicted on him. As the spear pushes him further away from the house, one of Daesung's minions emerges and tells the killer to keep quiet. Fear grips the guy when he sees that the summoned monster appeared without its master being there. As the monster prepares to toss him off the building, he offers to explain everything. However, the beast tells him that Daesung will question him. The scene then shifts to a sea, which is being illuminated under the beautiful moonlight. The waves suddenly start thrashing around, and a sea serpent emerges from its depths. There, the system window pops up, saying the protagonist's body has been completely liberated. Daesung stands on top of the sea serpent with more of his deadly aura oozing out of his body. Looking closer, his hair has changed to white, and he signifies that he's back to his old days. He then gets a message from his summoned monster, telling him that an intruder tried to harm his mother. The scene then shifts to the Great Iron Castle. There the killer is bound before the throne and awaiting his fate. He looks unsettled, and his anxiousness continues to get worse because he has no idea where he is. Suddenly he hears footsteps approaching him. As the protagonist moves to question the prisoner, he is swarmed by messages from the demons who are glazing him non-stop. He then promises to take them out when the time is right. After that, he calls the attention of the terrified prisoner and demands to know who his master is. Over at the Hansi Southern Altar, Elheim is with the two thugs who attacked both Changsik and Dongchul. He asks them about the progress on their targets. The blonde-haired guy tells him that he successfully eliminated Dongchul, but the dark guy says he was unable to finish off his target. The guy tries to explain that Changsik would have been surely killed if there was no interference. The bishop then informs them about the death of someone named Guzman. He also says that another person known as Sagat has gone missing. While the two guys discuss the shocking news, the bishop's body suddenly transforms into an ugly being with a large head. He then offers to grant the two guys the authority of an apostle and orders them to kill Daesung immediately. At a university hospital, two men are guarding the door to the room where their leader is recovering. Changsik finally manages to wake up, despite the agonizing pain. As soon as the people around him notice, they send someone to inform the doctor and chairman of the association. The top hunter struggles with a banging headache as he tries to figure out where he is. The lady beside him tells him that he was in shock due to aura depletion. He struggles to sit up on the bed, but the lady tells him not to move around yet. When he manages to sit up, he asks one of the men where Heron is. The guy tells him that Heron went off to Dongxiol. The worker's subordinate calls him out for informing their leader about Dongxiol. Of course, this only makes Changsik more concerned. The hunter then asks the men if something happened to the director. The men look very grim and struggle to tell their leader what happened. One of them then tells Changsik that Dongxiol's life is in danger after his battle with the unknown attacker. Due to this, Heron rushed over to see if anything could be done to help. As Changsik hears this news, the despair in his eyes becomes very vivid. He forces himself out of bed to go see where his friend is receiving treatment. However, the lady tells him to stop moving because he still needs to recover. Yet, the hunter remains adamant and demands to be told where the director is receiving treatment. Over in Dongxiol's ward, Heron's voice can be heard repeatedly trying to heal whatever wounds he has. Qihong tells her that she can stop because all of the director's external wounds have already been healed. On the other hand, Heron's expression is full of fear and despair. She holds onto the director's hands and refuses to accept the fact that he could be dying. The door of the room swings open, and Changsik walks in to see the dire situation of his dear friend. Dongxiol lies unconscious on the bed, and all of Heron's efforts aren't doing anything to help. Qihong assures Changsik that the director isn't dead, but the old man is in a coma and brain dead. Korea's top hunter blames Hans for all this mess and wants to know who exactly they are. Qihong tells him that the association is doing its best to track down the guys who attacked them. His phone suddenly starts buzzing loudly, and when he picks it up, he is informed about the appearance of an S-rank gate. Heron and Changsik's expressions become very anxious when they hear the words, S-rank gate. The mood in the room grows very tense as Qihong receives more information over the phone. The scene then shifts to the large gate that has appeared in the middle of the city, causing panic and dread in the city. Over in the association building, the workers are trying their best to see how the situation can be handled, but the sheer size of the gate and the nervousness of everyone in the room highlight just how much of a mess they're in. As if things aren't bad enough, the branch manager is lost in thought about how most of the top hunters are out of commission, and the only available ones are support-type hunters. The man issues a red alert and says that all the hunters registered with the association will be mobilized to help tackle the gate. The workers quickly start making calls and contacting every single hunter that they can find at the moment. Lost in thought and fear, the branch manager stares into the void, hoping that they can contain the mess before it gets out of hand. Over at the Iron Castle, the prisoner is being tortured by our hero, who is sapping away all of his memories to find out all he knows. Daesung begins to see images of the Hans Bishop, who is behind everything. After the poor guy's memories have been sapped away, Daesung wonders if the person he saw is the final boss he will have to face. Back in the city, a lot of vehicles can be seen waiting at toll gates in order to leave the vicinity. A reporter informs everyone that the citizens are trying to escape the gate, but the toll gate queues are very long. On the opposite lane, a lot of buses carrying hunters are seen entering the toll gate. The lady also reports that Changsik and Dongxiol aren't able to participate in the gate assault due to their injuries. The association has also remained silent on the matter of the S-rank hunters. Back in Daesung's family apartment, his mother sees Jisoo hurling around a huge box and asks her what it's for. The girl tells her that they need to join the evacuation quickly, because it's total chaos outside. However, her mother threatens to beat some sense into the poor girl because she's trying to leave without her brother. However, Jisoo reminds the woman of how strong Daesung is. They get interrupted when they hear a loud knock on the door. They open the door for Daesung to come in, and they immediately notice the color of his hair. Our hero doesn't know what they're talking about. Then he proceeds to ask them where they're going. His sister tells him that they're preparing to evacuate because of the S-rank gate. She tries to persuade her brother to run away with her if things get dangerous. The protagonist then turns to his mother and tells her to remain in the house with his sister. He assures them that their house is currently the safest place in Korea. He lets them know that he plans to beat up the monsters and return home safely. The mother agrees to stay behind, but Jisoo still looks very concerned about all this. With that settled, our hero prepares to head off and deal with the looming threats. Down in the city, armored trucks are being moved into position to face the monsters. The soldiers are doing their best to speed up the process as they all head towards the gate. As the tanks approach the gate, Daesung is seen standing on a rooftop close to the gate. He stares at the gate as his ominous aura emanates from his body. There, he wonders if this is all a plot by his enemies to try and lure him in. Meanwhile, back at the association, everyone grows more weary when they see the S-rank gate. The branch manager slams the table in anger because the gate only makes things more complicated. The female clerk then tells him that the Daesung clan has requested exclusive access to the S-rank gate. The excitement he gets from this news is so much that he doesn't even know when he yells out with joy. He quickly calms himself down and apologizes for being too excited. With the Daesung clan taking over the gate, he orders the rest of the troops to stand by as support. He tells the clerk to spread the news quickly to the others. While the tanks continue to move towards the gate, other hunters are assembled by the streets and are planning their battle formations. The long-range attackers are asked to move to the rear, while defense forces will wait up front. Among the hunters, some are nervous about the whole situation and feel they'll be used as cannon fodder. Suddenly, they all get an emergency notice on their phones, informing them about the Daesung clan attacking the S-rank gate. The air starts vibrating, and they hear a loud noise as Daesung's summoned dragon flies past them. The sound nearly blows their ears off when the dragon quickly passes them at a low altitude. The hunters are amazed to see the majestic creature. They also become very excited when they realize that our hero has come to save the day. At the association building, the branch manager watches as Daesung flies to the gate. Both he and his clerk leave the situation to the Demon King and hope that he'll be able to handle it. A news reporter arrives at the gate's location and sees that the Daesung clan is attacking the gate alone. They quickly get ready to broadcast the big news to everyone else. Meanwhile, Daesung flies straight into the gate and arrives in a very cold region. While looking like he obtained Ultra Instinct with his white hair, he highlights how freaking cold the whole place is. Before he has time to check the area, the Han's lackey, who attacked Chungsik earlier, tries to shoot him out of the sky. The guy musters all the strength he has to bring down the Demon King. However, Daesung counters his attack with his dragon's breath. The blue flames fly down to hit the dude, who tries to push them back with his magnetic storm. Being too weak, the Dark Man is unable to push back the flames, leaving it to cause an explosion on the point of impact. Daesung sees that his enemy is trying to run away behind the smoke, so he dives down to give chase to the guy. The enemy hunter attacks the hero with blood spears and tries to put him in the same situation as Dongshil. Daesung whips out his sword and blows the spears away with his fire. After that, he slams down on the enemy's hiding spot. With a menacing and deadly look, he tells the guy to come out of hiding. The Dark Man reveals himself, and the two men face each other as the blizzard blows violently. The guy tells Daesung that he's way too overpowered to be considered a hunter. On the other hand, the protagonist is tired of the idle chatter and wants him to wrap it up quickly. The enemy activates the skill, Titan's Advent, most likely given to him by the bishop. This causes his muscles and body to grow massively and rip through his clothing. When the transformation is complete, he looks like someone who should be in a wrestling ring. Despite his massive looks, Daesung doesn't see much of a change in his powers. With his new powers, the dark guy prepares to give our hero a whole lot more than he can take. He conjures a huge meteorite aimed straight at Daesung, but the protagonist sees his tricks as child's play. Daesung unleashes more of his magic power and increases the dominating aura he is already emitting. His enemy is shocked to see such an amount of power, and has no idea how someone can be so strong. The second Han's lackey pops up behind our hero and implies that Daesung's skill has a weakness to it. Despite his sneaky tactics, the protagonist already sees him. He tells the blonde guy not to be in a hurry to die, leaving the guy to wonder if he already knew about his presence from the start. As the meteorite closes in on him, Daesung uses his wrath ability to cleave the huge rock into two. In the process, the Dark Man gets sliced up as well, and he meets his bitter end. The Demon King easily takes care of the guy without breaking a sweat. As the blonde-haired man watches this, fear starts to grip his whole body. He admits that Elheim isn't even capable of such feats. Before he can even activate his own power, Daesung quickly grabs his neck and begins to fry his brain with his thunder abilities. With a stern look, he asks the guy about the eyes of the bishop he saw earlier. Suddenly, one of the eyes appears beside him. Then more of them start showing up out of nowhere. Daesung becomes very excited when he notices the presence of the eyes. He then tosses the blonde guy to the side and no longer has use for the hopeless dude. The eyes of the bishop see that Daesung's power is different from that of the awakened, so he decides to test his strength. But before that, he uses a petrification skill on his lackey to turn the poor dude to stone. The guy begs for his meager life, but he is quickly turned into a block of cement. After that, our hero asks if it's his turn to have some fun now. He conjures up a huge flame ball and demands for the bishop to reveal his true body. He attacks the eyes with his flames, blowing them up one by one. In the process, the petrified guy gets shattered during the fight. As the battle fog clears up, our hero is sure that the enemy hasn't been defeated yet. He tells the bishop to quickly come out and stop wasting time. One of the eyes pops out again and asks Daesung where he is from. The protagonist then offers to answer the bishop's questions, if his own is answered first. The bishop assumes he wants to make a deal, so Kang Woo asks what he's going to do. Elhim admits that he loves deals, but warns that he'll take Daesung's heart if he catches the protagonist off guard. Daesung then gets ready to ask a question, but instead, he uses his ghostly eyes to peer into the memories of the eye before him. The bishop tells him that his tricks won't work, but the Demon King lets him know that he has no trust for swine like him. Through the memories, our hero sees a war going on. On a Titan planet known as Hecaton, an angel-like creature appears in the sky and seems to be leading some giants. However, they get slaughtered and the planet explodes. A spaceship then warps through hyperspace and arrives at the Hans Nebula. There, we see a giant creature telling his subordinates that all of Hecaton's descendants have died, and they are the only ones left. In order to resurrect their species, he opens a portal to Earth and tells them to place a gate cube on it. Their plan is to load the planet with ether energy. Far off in DC, where the world powers are gathering, our hero sees that different nation leaders were negotiating with the Hans species in exchange for ruling the Earth forever. The aliens offered to give them eternal life, and that is how they got the powers of the nebula. However, the memories are cut off when the bishop pulls out his eye and recognizes where Daesung's power comes from. He says it's from the Demon Beast Nebula, and he wonders if our hero is the ruler of the place. Back inside the S-rank gate, our hero realizes that the bishop has 1,000 years worth of memories and wonders if the enemy he encountered is truly the final boss. The images he saw are still confusing him because he can't make sense of any of them. He also notices that there are no monsters inside the gate as well. He suddenly sees the burnt body of the petrified guy from earlier as it slowly dissipates. Back in the city, Heron and Han Ol are waiting with the other hunters in front of the gate. The branch manager approaches the S-rank hunters and thanks them for taking charge of the preparation unit. He is also surprised to see that Han Ol can now use both of his arms. The hunter tells the manager that he quickly installed spare equipment to enable him to still fight. Heron then asks how long Daesung has been in the gate, and the manager tells her that it's been about 3 hours. He hopes that our hero will return safely, even though there's a possibility of a second assault if he fails. He gets interrupted by the freakish Seoyeon, who says that it's rude for him to imply that her master will fail. Seoyeon wonders if they've forgotten just how strong her master is. Heron, who is vividly irritated by the brat's presence, asks what she's doing there. Daesung's obsessed lover then tells them that the Hans assassins also came to her house. Heron and Han Ol are shocked beyond words when they hear this. The branch manager asks the Fortress clan hunter what happened to the assassins. Seoyeon then tells them that the assassin died at the hands of her doll. She says that she made a special doll that surpassed her regular cursed doll, but it lost all its power after fighting the assassin. In order to bring the doll back to life, she says she'll make Daesung stronger. Meanwhile, the other hunters notice that the gate has been cleared when they see the color changing. The branch manager along with the S-rank hunters are completely baffled and short of words when they see this. Inside the gate, Daesung holds 2 crystals in his hands. The system window pops out, telling him that he has obtained the great meteorite power and 2 ether cores capable of creating an S-grade awakener. However, he only thinks about how much money these 2 crystals will fetch him. After giving it more thought, he decides to test it. Later on, the hunters in front of the gate start calling out his name when they see the Demon King riding out of the gate on his majestic dragon. The whole crowd goes wild and starts cheering him on. Seoyeon waves over to him and tries to get his attention. Daesung looks down at all his loving fans but doesn't look impressed by all the cheering. The hunters stand by the side as he lands, and they wonder how strong he is to be able to clear an S-rank gate by himself. Our hero walks over to the branch manager who addresses him. On behalf of the association, the manager thanks him for his hard work. The other hunters thank him as well and continue to cheer him on, despite the fact that he looks sick of them. He starts feeling embarrassed because of all the attention he's receiving. As if he's not dealing with enough, Seoyeon creepily walks up to him and asks about the kind of monsters he found in the gate. Heron and Han Ol also look at him, waiting for his answer. But he tells them that there are no monsters inside. The branch manager is baffled by this information and asks how such a thing is possible. However, the protagonist tells him that he met 3 people inside. One with blue eyes, one with black, and the last one with white eyes. Heron quickly realizes that the one with black was the one who attacked Changsik, and the white one must be the one who fought with Dongshul. Still, the branch manager finds it completely ridiculous that not a single monster was found inside an S-rank gate. He then says that the association will conduct further investigations inside the gate. Han Ol recognizes the attackers as the ones who attacked his subordinates, but he has no idea who the one with blue eyes is. With a stern look, Heron asks our hero what happened to the people he encountered. Daesung tells her that he killed 2 of them, but the one with blue eyes ran away. He tells the manager that the one who got away seems to be the boss among the assassins, but the real mastermind is someone else. He also feels he needs some time to organize his own information, Seo-yeon gets in his face again and asks him if he got anything from inside the gate. The rest of the guys are also eager to know if he got any spoils from inside the gate. Dae-sung quickly brushes it aside by faking a headache and saying that he has used up too much of his energy. He then tells them to ask Chanho for more details about the matter. He quickly disappears from the scene before his crazy student can ask him for the favor she wants. Sadly, everyone else is left with unanswered questions and no clue how to get the information they need. Later on, reports on news channels start flying around about how our hero cleared the S-rank gate by himself. This news helps to boost the image of Korea and also makes major changes in its ranking on the world chart. Over in Yang-chil's room, the streamer is celebrating this big achievement and refers to Dae-sung as the strongest hunter on Earth. He introduces himself to his subscribers as the leader of Han Dae-sung's fan cafe and tells them that he has been following the protagonist since the Gangnam Gate incident. He brings up a world map to explain why Dae-sung's feat is such a huge achievement. Despite the fact that a lot of countries have been able to clear an S-rank gate, this is the first time that a single individual has been able to do so. He tells his subscribers that our hero should be ranked as the #1 hunter in the world. However, his subscribers think otherwise, considering that the gate had no monsters inside. This pisses off Yang-chil, and he starts screaming at his screen like a deranged lunatic. He decides to call up An Dae-sung and ask about the situation at the S-rank gate. However, whatever the old man tells him is beyond shocking for the young guy. Later on, we see Cho-young being bombarded by a lot of calls from different news outlets because of the Dae-sung case. The entire thing is exhausting her, and she doesn't understand what all the commotion is about. She can't seem to catch a break as more calls keep flooding in, and it's driving her crazy. Over at the Dae-sung clan, Chanho is trying to reach out to the protagonist, but our boy is known for not picking up his friends' calls. He is about to lose his mind, so he decides to send a desperate text to Dae-sung, saying that they need to hold a press conference urgently. However, our hero is fast asleep on his bed and can't hear the silent buzzing of his phone. Chanho is beyond frustrated, and he feels like Dae-sung should have brought some hunters with him instead of clearing the gate alone. The scene shifts to the altar of Hans's blood demons. There in the vast bounds of space, we see Ramesh, the high priest of Hecatan. While the priest is kneeling before the statues, Elheim shows up and tells him that there's a problem on Earth. When Ramesh asks about it, the bishop tells him that the king of the demonic nebula is on Earth. He also reveals that the demon king was able to access his memories and find out about their plans. The priest is surprised to hear this and slams his staff on the ground out of anger. He then tells Elheim that the creation of gates in Korea will be stopped. After that, he tells the bishop to prepare for a war with the heavens. Elheim humbly takes note of this. Over at the World Hunter Association, the tables are filled with magazines about our hero and how he conquered an S-rank gate by himself. The dignitaries are waiting for the leader to address them. The president of the World Hunter Association, Darren Anderson, then kicks off the meeting to discuss the S-rank gate incident in Korea. Anderson directs everyone's attention to the screen, showing Dae-sung's face and the gate. The image of our hero zooms in, and he tells them that he's the one who cleared the S-rank gate by himself. The chief of Japan's Central Communications, Natsukawa Shinji, interrupts him and says that in his country, they classify gates based on the monster's level and not the aura. Since there was no monster in the gate tackled by Dae-sung, Shinji doesn't see why it should be classified as an S-rank. He concludes on that and says that a true S-rank gate can't be closed by a single individual. Jinrong, China's vice chairman of the Awakened Force, says they could only consider the gate to be on the same level as one of their hunters' examination locations. Someone else tells them not to be in a hurry to judge the situation, especially when the chairman of Korea's association is right there with them. Park Jung-ho starts to feel nervous based on what has been said but decides to go at it with them. Anderson also tells the rest that the association will dispatch an investigation team to officially recognize the situation as an S-class shutdown. For now, he tells them to pay attention to Jung-ho, Korea's association head, then tells them that they've acquired important information about Dae-sung, and because of that, he is requesting global measures to be initiated. He turns their attention back to the screen and tells them to look at the first video. Later on, a car pulls up to the Dae-sung clan building. A horde of reporters who are swarming the building immediately recognize that the person inside the car is Chanho. Cho-young tells Chanho about the horde of reporters and asks what they should do. The guy is tired of dealing with these news reporters, but he still decides to step out of the car. As soon as he gets down, the news reporters start asking if the gate that was tackled is really an S-rank gate and what Dae-sung has to say about the matter. He finds their remarks quite irritating and insulting. Chanho tells them that they'll address the matter, so in the meantime, they'll have to wait a bit. However, the broadcasters keep bombarding him with more questions, asking if it's true that there was nothing discovered inside the gate. Cho-young interrupts them and clears a path for Chanho to head inside the building. Chanho steps through and thanks her for the save. While he heads inside the building, The newscasters direct their attention to Cho Young and start asking her different questions. Sadly for them, she humbly declines to be interviewed. At our hero's apartment building, his mother and sister are outside when they see a different set of reporters who are looking for Dae-sung. The reporters take notice of them and immediately rush towards the two women to conduct an interview. Jisoo tries to protect her mother from the rabid reporters who are scaring them. One of them steps up and tells the mother that her son is the hero who saved the country, and they want a word with him. Dae-sung's mother is confused and doesn't know why they are referring to her son as a hero. Regardless, the newscasters pressure them into making a comment on the S-Class gate incident. Jisoo, being a loudmouth, tells them that her brother said not to evacuate. She reveals that Dae-sung told them that home is the safest place, and there was no need for them to leave the city. The reporters quickly take note of this, and proceed to ask her about the change in her brother's hair color, and if it has something to do with his mental state. Jisoo continues blabbering like a water faucet until she hears someone yelling her name. When she turns, she sees her brother, who tells her to quickly leave with their mom and go home. The reporters immediately divert their attention to the hero and start battering him with a series of questions. The same reporter who questioned his family then tells him to make a comment about the S-Class gate being empty. The protagonist tells them to all shut up and says that anyone who speaks will not be allowed into the press conference room. The newscasters quickly shut up and become anxious at the thought of a combined press conference. At that moment, Dae-sung snaps his fingers and sends an electrical surge to destroy all their cameras and recorders. He lets them know that photos and videos are prohibited during the conference. He promises to reveal everything in a week's time and then asks the reporters to kindly leave. The newscasters are left without much of a choice, so they have to oblige. Meanwhile, Jung-ho is on a plane heading back home, and he is lost in thought about what happened during his meeting. Back then, Jin-rong suggested that they needed to find a way to capture the Hans guys who made the gate, but in his mind, he just wants to find a way to evaluate Dae-sung's ability by himself. He proposes that they should summon the protagonist to hear what he has to say. This way he'll be able to confirm if Korea has such a phenomenal hunter in their midst. Shinji also seconded the idea because he feels there's a need to maintain good relationships with Korea if Dae-sung's abilities are the real deal. Another dignitary also chips in and says they should call over our hero to obtain more information. However, Jung-ho lets them know that it won't be possible. Anderson then tells him that the Federation will dispatch 5 S-Class hunters for gate defense. After that, he suggests they call Dae-sung over and listen to what he has to say before deciding on the association's policy. Looking closer, Jung-ho realizes that all these guys are only interested in Dae-sung. After having a stare-down with Anderson, he tells them that he has no intentions of cooperating with them. The Korean Association head then looks out his windows and vows not to let the guys have their way. Over at the Dae-sung clan, the protagonist asks Cho-young if she initially planned to work for his clan. She thanks him for saving her life twice, and he asks if her body has fully recovered. Cho-young says that she can no longer work as a hunter due to her aura core being destroyed, so she wishes to work for him until she can recover as a hunter. Dae-sung, who seems to have too much wax in his ear, still asks if she's unable to do work as a hunter, despite what she just said. Cho-young explains that she lost both her parents to monsters, so she plans to reclaim her abilities and get revenge on those who made the gates. Jun-ho walks into the room while complaining about his friend, but surprisingly sees the hero there. He quickly hands Dae-sung an invitation from the Global Hunters Association. The contents of the letter talk about how Dae-sung is invited to a conference so that they can learn from his experience and also find out vital information about the gate. Cho-young reads the boring letter to Dae-sung with all the important details. Jun-ho feels proud that his friend will be attending a conference with global top hunters and wonders if he is also invited. However, our hero lets them know that he has no intentions of going. Jun-ho tells him to think about it and not make such a hasty decision. But Dae-sung tells him that the Hans guys are not people to joke with. He feels if they show up while he's away, the entire country will be doomed. The group leader thinks about this, knowing that 5 S-Class hunters are still not enough to match up with the protagonists. After that, he then asks how Dae-sung plans to deal with the press conference. Dae-sung recalls that and looks over to Cho-young while stating that he has a plan. The poor girl starts sweating like a river because she has no idea what this crazy guy is planning. At the press conference venue, reporters have swarmed the room and are quickly flashing their cameras in order not to miss a single detail. Cho-young opens the floor for the conference and passes the microphone to Jun-ho to give a detailed briefing. As the leader of the Dae-sung clan introduces himself, camera flashes continue to go off in his face. After his debriefing, Cho-young tells the reporters to raise their hands if they have any questions. As they raise their hands, she picks out the reporter in the first row. The lady introduces herself as Lee Jimin and proceeds to ask our hero a question. Dae-sung walks over to the podium and Jimin asks if he knows any information about the gate, considering that he told his family not to evacuate. He tells her that he had no prior knowledge of the gate, but boasts about being powerful enough to stop any gate that appears. The reporters are all intrigued by this, but Chanho is afraid that his friend doesn't know how to choose his words wisely.